my oh, we're live now. Enough dog breeds for
Talk
Valiant.
about dogs.
It's one of those topics you get deep into in a way that's obsessive.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you and welcome everybody here on Friday morning. We're having a really interesting one that was an introduction suggested by our own Nick Nightingale, our service director, about video conferencing etiquette. I'm always kind of curious when people get the ideas for things. I'm sure that came from a very specific incident. I don't know what it is. He's not telling, but I think it's really cool that we could do this. And before we dive in, I also want to say thank you for liking and giving us suggestions and comments. This has been a really great experience putting this together. And once again, if you have any information you like, any questions that we can answer for you, we absolutely do it. So we also have a great back catalog now of really interesting topics. And I also got some comments that someone used a video that we did to buy a new computer. So I thought that was really cool to hear how, it was, oh yeah, watch the video. How else do I know those terms? And I was like, that's really awesome. That's really cool. So it was really exciting. So anyway, this kind of like putting it together. Today our topic is video call etiquette, and right now we're past that point of video calls where we can say like, I don't know what we're doing here. This is Wild West. It's like week 8 of video calls. So maybe we'll put together like some useful ideas, things to kind of maintain things better. And so anyway, I'm going to let Megan take it off.
Hello. Thank you, George. I'm really happy to be here. I have written several blog posts for the Valiant website about video call etiquette. So been doing my research. I think the biggest thing to remember when you come to video calls is that you are still engaging with your colleagues and your superiors and your clients. And my rule of thumb is that if you wouldn't present yourself in a certain way in the office or in a meeting in person, don't present yourself that way on camera either. Shower. And I'm guilty of it. I'll do like the top knot bun sometimes. I would never wear that out of the house. So, shower, comb your hair. If you are someone who wears makeup, wear makeup because it makes you feel more professional. And please wear pants. That's my biggest.
I'm going to say I might be guilty as charged. Sometimes Justin might see the shorts in the morning, like, whoa, hey, running shorts.
But skirts and shorts are okay. We're talking like boxes. Not your boxes.
Oh yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah.
I mean, but if you are in a situation where you need to be wearing like a suit and tie, it is disturbing if you're wearing the orange shirts and shorts.
It's true.
Yeah. And there was that guy, he went viral and he was like on the Today Show or something. And then you could actually see it beneath.
He like leaned back. Yeah.
So all that to say, it's like, just do the full outfit just for the time you're on camera. I think if you
like to do my normal morning routine and outfit like I was going to, because at least for me, I'm used to going into the office and having that commute and kind of using that to get into the working mind space. And for me, that whole morning routine, keeping that the same, has helped me be able to separate the work from home and being home at home,
right?
And kind of mentally compartmentalize, like I'm working now and now I'm not working, as opposed to physically being in the office for that.
Absolutely. Like for me, like even putting on mascara, I don't wear a lot of makeup, but putting on mascara, the act of doing that for me right before I start work is a way for me to know I'm going to have to interact with other people and I am trying to be more professional. Justin, that was a great point. I think that can fit in the ritual in the morning that they all talk about. Yeah. So I want to talk about sort of when you open a video call, especially I'm a salesperson, so with clients, a really, really simple one is smile when the video starts. And
it's true. I go on a lot of calls, Megan. It's such a funny and small thing. Okay, what are you here for? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just miserable. Like, come on, I'm happy to see you.
Yeah. No, I've definitely been on calls where people are like that too, and it's like you're clearly not interested in this conversation right now. Because if you were doing that in person, I'd be saying, okay, well, this is done. But
Right.
what are we?
Seriously, only even now. I'm taking my stuff. I'm taking my ball and going home.
Yeah.
So, very true.
And it's incredible how much that just communicates like the littlest bit of humanity. It's like when you're on the phone and if you're smiling, people can tell that it changes the tone of the conversation.
Mhm.
So, smile when the person gets on camera. It just makes them feel welcome. So that's a really small one. And then, so I think some people know this, but I was an actor before I came to Valiant, and a really basic of auditioning, something my theater director used to yell at me for, was having hair in my face. And
this is probably new to some people who can't get haircuts. Suddenly their hair that never touched their face is cascading down.
That's right. Yeah.
Exactly. And so men, if you need to clip your hair back, that's okay. Do that.
Yeah, do.
It's nice to put it behind the ear.
That's right.
Use your headset.
Yeah.
There you go. That's a good idea.
I
Actually.
need it, but
Just you and
no, I don't have
problem.
that problem.
Yeah.
And just his basic message was always, if your hair is in your face, if people can't see your eyes or something, your message gets lost. So it's just a good way to keep people engaged. And then this is a little tip I got from working with a public speaking coach, but stay still when the other person's talking on a video call, because these things are zoomed in and your micro movements are a lot more obvious than maybe they even would be in person. So stay still when the other person's listening, because it's going to make them feel like you're more engaged. And it's sort of one of those behaviors that actually encourages a better mindset too, because then you're more focused on what they're saying rather than distracting yourself with small movements and stuff. So that's a really little one.
Yeah, that's good. That's I take that one to heart.
As you're saying that, I'm
too.
thinking to myself now, like I nod a lot when people are talking. Is that distracting, or am I?
No,
because now I'm sitting here thinking like, I'm focusing, like I've got to be still. Is she still?
It's very complicated. It's very hard. I don't know.
Honestly, like I hadn't thought about that, but when you say that, when I rewatch our videos, which I do sometimes because I'm very vain, I do. It really does take my focus. Even like, I mean, we're talking this whole time, so we do need to drink water. But like when we grab a thing, your focus goes to the thing that's changing. I mean, that's just basic like visual anatomy.
Right.
So like if you are doing something like, oh, what's out my window, you're gonna notice that. I'm looking down at my phone. It is pretty noticeable, and especially if you're having like a more intimate call, it's clear you're not paying attention. But if you're doing something like this and I'm not the one talking, it's also going to distract people from Megan who's talking if I go like, dogs, be quiet.
Right. Yeah.
It's just a good base, and I think nodding is fine, showing engagement is fine, but I think Marianne, like you said, it's easy to get distracted on these, so it's whatever you can do to minimize the distraction is probably always going to be appreciated by the person you're talking to.
Right.
And
I always think this is put pin in it. It's like imagine if you're sitting in the room with the person, how you'd want them to engage with you. Do the same thing here. So if you're fidgeting around like the kid in the waiting room, that's pretty miserable. Right. That's basically
off to the side. Like I feel like I've seen people do that too.
Oh yeah.
No, when someone is doing that in person, we know when it's happening on camera too.
Right.
Awesome.
Excellent. Very cool. That's great tips.
And then the last one I have for just this section focused on yourself. And I think Marianne, you added this: keep a drink nearby, but off screen.
Yes.
Yeah. If you're doing a long video call, or, I never get more thirsty for water than when I am talking to someone.
Yeah. This is something that I always do for trainings because I'm constantly talking. So if you're having like a conversation where you're talking, make sure you have water with you, because you will start to like get parched. And I do this like in-person trainings. Everyone's like, oh, can I get you anything? I'm like, I need water. I'm going to be talking for 30 minutes straight, and I'm going to need to take a drink. But I think I also put on there, honestly, like it's still not polite to eat. If you can save that for afterwards, do so.
Yeah.
because both, I mean, the noise, crunch, 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 but also the sight.
Oh yeah.
It's still, it's not polite. It's not the worst infraction, but it is not polite.
Yeah. Also, as a Justin can appreciate, as a bearded man,
Yeah.
sometimes things get caught in there like a trap.
Yeah, no.
You
don't need everybody seeing that.
Yeah, no one wants that, especially not for posterity.
Yeah, and I know I'm a messy eater too, so I'm like, I don't want the world to know. Well, the world knows now, but
doesn't need to be videotaped,
right?
right?
There's a difference between telling and
recorded.
Yeah, they don't have the image in their head.
Right.
And then, last but not least, truly not least, if you're sharing your screen and that's what you have to be doing, make sure you have exited out of anything that you don't want people to see on your screen.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that could be client information, or it could be, what we're all thinking of, not suitable for work things. So yeah.
Right. Exactly.
So there's usually, and I know in Teams has this, and usually there's an option when you're sharing the screen to share just a specific application, not the full screen, and that can be really helpful if you're looking at like, I just want to share this one document. You can choose just that, and other stuff is just doesn't show up because it's not the whole screen. It's just that window, just those pieces.
Every
so that can be useful.
I would say every screen sharing thing has that as well, and it's useful because if you minimize it, it doesn't show the back of the screen, because that's when people usually get lost. They try to share their whole screen, they minimize it, and then suddenly it's like, oh hey, you're working on your resume. That's a problem.
The other one that I've seen people get tripped up on is if you've got things like Messenger or things open and you are sharing your whole screen, even if there's nothing on there right now that isn't something, you do want to minimize that or turn off those notifications, because somebody can send you something not realizing that you're sharing your screen and not thinking that, maybe you don't want to share or whatever that is with everybody.
Yeah, and that can either it's a comment you really don't want people to see, or it's just another basic distraction that kind of can take momentum out of the conversation. That's a really good point. So moving on, I'm gonna sort of like a movie. We're gonna expand the camera lens a little bit. Now I'm not a cinematographer, but now we're talking about environment. First things come first. I am the worst millennial ever. I'm really bad at taking selfies. So camera positioning was important for me to learn. And we'll talk about this later, but I've just made sure I've elevated my computer. I'm using my laptop. I don't have a desktop at home, so that my webcam is, I think it's eye line, right? Is that the rule? If you guys know,
right.
It's, you don't want to,
right.
You don't want people looking up
your nose.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's not a great, that's not a great look for anyone.
No, it's not. And actually, what's interesting, we have a great question here about setup, which may be from our own Stefan Kaup. And can you throw it on a screen? I use a dual monitor setup and tend to drag my video call screen to my side monitor, but my camera is in my laptop above my main screen. So, of course, I appear to be looking away at the camera. Is this bad? Yes. No,
yes.
It's not bad.
It depends on.
It's not the worst infraction.
Yeah,
no, it's not.
I have the same problem. So for these, I'm looking directly at the laptop because I have the screen here. But for some of the, especially internal calls, I've got a million things open and we're working on a bunch of things. So I make that mistake all the time. I try to minimize it, but yeah, it's definitely I would say in our internal meetings with us, since we're you've seen me in worse situations than just the side of my face. I'm more likely to do it. But for anything with a client or anyone external, or even like big internal meetings, I keep it so I'm looking forward, looking straight on.
I mean, it's the same as we were talking about in segment 1. It's a distraction, it's engagement. So it is better if you're using 2 screens. See if you can put the content on the second screen and the thing that you're mostly looking at the first. So I've done that too. When we've done some of these, I needed to see content, and I would use a dual monitor setup. And I put like, I can quick check this. Not a big deal if I turn, but I want to mostly be engaged.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's, and also there is that sense of looking at the person you're speaking to them.
Yeah.
Like, even though it doesn't feel like you really are kind of making that mental connection. Like, I'm looking in your eyes, Justin. Like, I know you're looking at me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Different
Like,
than
even though we're
hey guys,
50 miles away from each other, it's, I know that it's happening to some degree. Like, at least my mind is making that connection. So I think it is best if you could look directly at the person. So,
and I think
very cool.
For the longer term, I mean, in the short term, working if you're set up with a dual monitor and you're using the camera in your laptop, it makes sense. But as we're getting into more and more of this, the webcams are starting to become available again, or at least we get them. And if you want to be using your larger monitor as your primary, get a small webcam to put on top of it.
Yeah, I just want, thankfully, before we left,
we're actually, we've got a whole section about the equipment next.
Okay, we'll get there.
I'll hold off.
But right now, we're still talking a little bit about environment.
Go back.
No, you're good.
Well, but that's the point of what we're having with this. It's no longer like this is just a temporary thing. We're trying to you really need to work on a more permanent solution. So that was fine to start when we were all like, whatever, let's just fix it.
Yeah.
But now that we've been doing this longer, I've propped my laptop up so you aren't looking up at my nose anymore.
Right.
And things like that. So think more about permanent solutions and your environment and what you're actually doing.
Yeah, and that kind of perfectly takes us to, because I didn't have a work from home setup initially when all this started. So lighting was a really big challenge for me, and finding I had to spend time outside of video calls, like having my camera up and figuring out how to light myself well, because again, George and I would have to hop on a call with a client or something, or a potential client, and then even just wanting you guys to see me. And also my brother, this is a weird anecdote, but he always, family video calls, the light is behind him and he is silhouetted and it's menacing. And
yes.
You don't want to do that to any of your coworkers or colleagues.
If you want to do as I say, not as I do, check out our videos from the past couple of weeks, and you can see. Honestly, I've been struggling the past few days because also like the weather keeps changing as well.
Yeah.
So the thing that worked when it was sunny out doesn't work when it's cloudy out. So you'll see me some days I'm like much darker than everyone else. The one we did on Wednesday, I'm basically a ghost because I had this window open and it made half my face pure white. And sometimes I put on I have a lamp that I put on, but then it has a reflection in my glasses. So this has been a struggle for me. So it's worth taking time to do.
It's really hard. It's super hard. I have a window behind me that I love, that if you can see it, it's really great, and that causes weird lighting behind, and you can tell how sunny and dark it is, and that's where my desk is, and I just kind of like a rig set up here, and there's wiring, and I got schooled the other day by Gene for my wires.
So check out what the clutter in the background too.
Gene was like, clean those wires up.
I want to show up my board games, so that's why I left this up here.
Actually.
But think about your background as well.
Yeah.
That's a good point, George, too, because some people's setups, I got lucky, I can have a window behind my desk. That's for lighting is always the best lighting.
Right.
But your setup looks great too, and sometimes you have to choose between two evils where you're like, do I want them to see my wiring, or do I just need a little, do I just need to deal with that?
Right. Exactly.
And whatever you feel like is going to be the least distracting and present yourself the best, I think is where you kind of have to make your decision.
Yeah, and you don't have to buy a light ring. Just take a look and see. Oh, light on, light off.
Yeah,
open, curtains closed, stuff like that. Nothing huge.
Exactly.
You can do some very fun, very DIY setups for that.
I know.
So now this next one's a little goofy, but it is actually something I do. I did it before this stream. If you get nervous about speaking clearly in a call, and this again is from auditioning, I do little tongue twisters to make sure I sound clearer. So I do seashells. I remember seashells by the seashore, because I'll slosh my S's, and that is I just wanted to touch on that just because that is something that makes me a slight vocal exercise, especially when it's like Justin, you said, speaking to someone that is a client outside of my organization. I don't do it for every call, but for things that are a little more presentational, I do take a little time just to warm up my mouth muscles and make them ready to speak confidently.
Yeah. I'm gonna do that because I do tend to mumble. I really like.
When you're
I'll give you
nervous,
my favorite one is
not
Betty
you.
Botter bought some butter,
Yeah.
and then it keeps going. But Betty Botter bought some butter.
Betty Botter bought some butter. Yeah.
So I don't go Betty Botter.
Butter's bitter. I don't remember that one.
No, it's a long one.
Yeah.
So we'll just skip that.
And yeah, earlier, Marianne, I said you mumble when you're nervous. Not you. I was saying, and like.
Oh, no.
I do.
I mumble because I'm like lazy.
And I do too. Yeah.
Soft mouth. Yeah. I know. I do. I suffer from it.
Yeah.
Mumble
And I
for
think
years.
a lot of people do. So it's just good to like I think it's okay to take a little time to do that, especially if you're worried about the impression you're making.
Right.
And then this one, and I'm going to talk about is posture. And then I think we'll all sit up straighter.
Yeah.
Every time.
I saw that one coming.
Yeah.
So posture is great. It's basic. It's if you are sitting up straight and you you look more present, you look more confident, and it's psychological as well. It's going to make you act more confident, and then people are going to feel that. So that one's super simple. Have you guys had experience with that at all, just with the work from home?
Oh yeah.
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 I mean, I know George has seen my awful posture when we do our morning and afternoon meetings, but
anyone you is draped into the chair. You're very comfortable.
But that's I thought about that, and I don't feel so bad about that because when we used to do those in the office, I'd grab the ottoman and put my feet up for those too, because it's like it's 4:30, it's end of the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, for definitely when talking to clients or people outside, even people in the company too. Talking to people, I've been making an effort to sit up straight and try to, not look awful.
You never look awful. Yeah.
What helps me weirdly is that I do pay attention a little bit to what I look like on the screen, and if I start getting worse posture, then suddenly I'm like south of my screen, and I'm like, wait a second, I need to be centered again. Oh, I'm not sitting up straight. Or like I do tend to do the lean over, so then my head is huge, and I'm like, why is my head so much bigger? Oh,
well, and Marianne, that's a really good point that I even think of, where it's like having basic good posture balances you in the screen, and it's so much more obvious now that we're all on camera. If you're like,
I like the idea of having a bigger head.
I think your head's big enough, Justin.
Has layers. Excellent.
So the next one's big, though.
Wait, what did you say?
Oh, I said the next one's huge.
Yeah. Oh, yes. So we've all seen the viral videos of people accidentally walking into the background of someone's work from home stream or something. Biggest thing, communicate with those you are sharing a space with, whether it's kids or partners or roommates. Communicate with them when you are going to be on camera, when it's a more high pressure situation or a higher stakes situation, and when not to interrupt you. What do you guys have thoughts on that, or like measures?
Yeah. So actually, when someone suggested this, I went, great. My friend has been asking me to do video etiquette, but not for like, how can people have better like presentation to each other, but more like, she's like, my husband doesn't tell me when he's going on a video call, and then suddenly I'm in my pajamas in the back of his business call. So like, that's also not just for the people you're talking to, but also for your partner and for your roommates. They don't want to be in their pajamas on your business call, like they want to be able to like move and freely and not be on camera. So it's important in both directions, both for not distracting people and also,
it's considerate. Like for everyone involved.
So much of it is basically your space. Like if someone's going to walk through your space, you maybe with a little sign up, like yesterday we were doing a webinar and I put like a pretty big, 8.5 by like broadcasting, do not enter, it was we were in a kind of like a little home office setup. But if if you've shared space, it's really much more difficult. Like, how do you know? We've always, that's like, we've been talking about the on-air light in Valiant's office for years. Like, don't come in, we're having a meeting, that sort of thing.
Wednesdays actually we did Office 365 tips and tricks, and I was doing most of the talking the whole time. So this comment that we have is actually very relevant to me. So let me bring up the comment, and it says, should I acknowledge sounds from outside like dogs barking or trains going by? So on the day that I couldn't mute myself, I put my dogs in a different room. So I did have to plan that with my partner. But in general, if you are talking and something interrupts you, it's totally fine to acknowledge it. We're all human, and it actually brings a little bit of humanity into it.
Yeah.
So just be like, oh, sorry, that's the train. Or, yep, new dog, saw the mailman. Sorry. It's better to acknowledge it if you're in the middle of talking. You should, if you're in a big meeting, keep your mic muted the whole time if you're not talking, just to prevent that. But also, if it comes up, it's usually better to acknowledge it, unless you're like, you just forgot to mute your mic and you have to interrupt someone to acknowledge it. But it's better to just be like, oh, sorry, that's my kid. Bye, Benji, or whatever. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm still in Brooklyn, and the train is about 2 houses away, and today, like, it's just had to go by, and acknowledging it is kind of nice. The sound of the train can be nostalgic for people now that we're not traveling anywhere.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, on other days or other calls, I am sure when I see it and I can see it, I just mute my mic while it's going by and just listen. So that's a really good point.
I also have a personal rule that if you have a dog or a cat that makes noise or anything like that, they have to make an appearance because people want to see it. So you will see in some of our past ones, you'll see my dogs come up because they barked. So I went, okay, here's my dog tax. Here's the dog.
Yep, yeah. There it is. You see them come up, and there's part of the part of who you are, right? So that's it. So that's great. That's awesome. The environment setup always love these. I think the last one that a lot of people have a lot of questions on that we've seen is about the equipment, because people wanted to like, well, how do I set this thing up? What do I do? What do I need? How do I work it? So I think that's the key here is this equipment setup. It's I guess the first and most one is a laptop or computer, right? So how's that? What's the best way to set that up, you think?
So like I said before, I didn't have any at-home setup before. Like my work computer is my laptop. So I had to use a Scrabble board and another big
very specific. The Scrabble is very specific.
Well, it's a big wooden board, like it's an old-fashioned one. And I use that. I'm definitely going to invest in better stuff if, I'm trying to research things to make it a better setup. Yeah. But you do have to use what you can in your house. It makes, the presentation looks great on the camera. They don't know that it's 4 books or it's The Joy of Cooking, the latest edition.
Yes.
You don't have to. So that's been my sort of, I guess, shortcut to equipment. But I know you guys have more thorough home offices. What do you recommend? What have you found works best for you, and what adjustments have you guys made?
Yeah, I mean, the books does work even in a thorough one. Like right now, my monitor is on an old study guide for a Microsoft cert and a Harry Potter book. That's what.
Which Harry Potter? Very important.
Deathly Hallows, because it's the
biggest one.
It's the biggest one. Yeah.
It's a long book.
And it's a hardcover, so it's all.
You thought you'd never use your old college textbooks again.
Exactly. Yeah, I knew I wasn't throwing these out for a reason. Yeah.
There you go.
And that for if your desk is sturdy or if your surface is sturdy, that works really well, and you don't need to spend money on something to sort of maximize the space you have. I also have it was like $25 a laptop stand that I got from Target, ordered, and it's just a metal stand about that big with a wire drawer in it, so you can put some stuff in it to reclaim some of that space, and that just lifts the laptop up. And even then, I have a book on top of that to get it a little bit higher.
It's interesting. Like at our office, we have just about everyone has monitor arms and keyboard and trays, and it's all set up. And I feel like it's so hard because at home we don't have the same setups that look great, and it's so like man, you're so confused. But yeah, even myself here, I'm looking at my laptop sitting on my desk, like cables all over it. But this is a laptop. But at the office, it's like beautifully dressed, and it's great. Even though I feel like we spent more time here.
Well, now yeah. And now
No,
might be the
there
time
are-
to invest in an actual, like you said, a traditional one. I've been actually experimenting back and forth. I was using board games, but then I wanted to play the board games. I had to keep them up. So I have a pretty solid box, but it's an empty box. So the problem is if I hit it a little bit, you're getting a shake.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's something you need to worry about too. I actually,
Mhm.
one of my training videos, I think it was VPN. No, I think it was video call best practices. Is I've got a little picture in picture, and I had to like it's so shaky at the bottom that I was like, well, that's not going to be on the big screen at all, and like it's just shaking back and forth. I'm like, oh, I didn't even notice when I was recording.
Yeah, it definitely makes
Yeah.
a difference how shaky the desk is.
Yeah.
And the next one I think that is on our list here that's so important is the headset.
Yeah.
Quite
Yeah.
honestly,
Mhm.
And that goes back to both being clear for your the people you're talking to and the other people in your house.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to have loud conversations and have them have to hear that, but you also don't want.
Right.
Well, we'll talk about the purpose of headsets is, both so that you can be heard better, but also it's not picking up the background noise as much.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. I know we tried to get enough. I know when we kind of knew that this was going to happen, I think we ordered like 15 headsets,
Yeah.
but they kind of got snapped up real fast, and then we
Yeah.
tried to order some more. And for a while there was a bit of price gouging because
Yeah.
the Logitech headset that was like $30 was now like $150 or something like that. And we were like, okay, we'll wait until it comes back. And there's some great deals out there right now.
Yeah, I've
Slowly,
been seeing them come back in stock.
Yeah.
They're bundled usually with like a keyboard and mouse. And I was like, okay, yeah, but it's still a good price for
Yep.
decent headsets.
Yeah.
it's very cool.
And I know that's something I need to invest. Like, yeah, it's something I need to invest in as well, and I wish I had before. So I think it's something I have missed in my home office
Right.
setup, I will say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're coming back in stock, so.
Yes, I know. I saw that. So I'm gonna that's gonna maybe be my weekend activity.
Yeah.
And so last but
Right.
really not least, and Justin, I might ask you to help me out with this one a little bit.
Of course.
There is home line versus business line
Mhm.
for internet connection. I know I was panicked about losing connection today. We have a home line. So I know we have a video where we cover this in depth.
Yeah. So I won't go too in depth with this since we've if you look at our previous Q&As, there's a couple where we got really deep into setting up a home network and choosing your ISP and all of those things. But the short answer is business line. The ISP is sort of guaranteeing you a better connection as opposed to the like up to certain speed. So if you're going to be conducting a lot of business from home and setting up your home office in a permanent way, that might be something worth looking into. But that being said, the home internet in a lot of cases works really well, and sometimes you just test it out and see. I know George had a home internet connection that didn't work great, and
Very
the business
problematic.
line
Yeah.
is working fine. And I'm on a home connection right now, and it's been fine. It all depends on where you're located and what's available in your area, and it's kind of a play by ear with it. But
Yeah.
definitely check out the other episodes where we went deep dive into it to help you figure
Exactly.
out what the right option is for you.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Mhm.
Excellent. So do you guys have anything else you want to add? I think there's such a great, so much information out of this one. This was like chocolate. I feel like we can keep going for like hours on here, but I know
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
all those things to do and people to talk to and
Nobody
Yeah.
wants to watch me for hours, so
well, I want to watch myself, but it's awkward. But this is great. I mean, I think there's such great information here. Please check out some of the videos we've done in the past. I think there's some good information. You probably cobble together a whole bunch of work from home policies and procedures and best practices from these, and we're going to keep going. So if you have suggestions, please suggest them. We have the links right there. And one of the things we also we really just appreciate when people like, share, subscribe. It helps us get more just out there in the world, in the social. And we know we did yesterday a pretty long webinar with some of our trusted advisors and friends around reopening offices, and just some really great information for business owners and business managers. Check that out. And I think these are topics that are just going to keep being top of mind for all of us. And on Monday, our topic is kind of a very technical deep dive around different cloud storages.
Mhm.
Last week we did one around traditional storage on-premise, the touching of cloud. And what came out of that is we realized that there's a lot of confusion around cloud storages.
Yeah.
It's a vastly new world on that regard. And we want to deep dive in a little bit into it and give you people some basis of understanding what they're purchasing and how best deploy it. So with that, I'm going to say thank you, Megan, Marianne, Justin. Thank you so much, Megan. Thank you. This is great putting together. I really appreciate it all. There's Samus. How you doing?
Dog tax.
Dog tax. We love the dog tax. All right, guys. Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye.
Talk to you
Thank
soon.
you.
Everybody.
Bye now.
Bye.